Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply, and this video is to bring you a closer look at the DCI part number 790F in a US26D finish. 790F is a manual flush bolt that is used in wood door installations, is where you'll find the 790. This is what will serve as the installation instructions. There's a link below this video to them, and we're going to touch on them in a moment. So here's the 790F. This happens to be in the 626 finish. It would be more appropriate to call it this is in the US26D finish. It would be more appropriate to call it 626 because that tells us that the base material is brass and there is a satin chrome plating over the brass base material. And satin chrome, fun fact, is the most durable of those plated finishes. When it's on brass, it's the most durable of plated finishes. On steel, not nearly as much, but on brass, it's very durable. Very nice finish, as you can see from DCI. The video does not do the caliber of the finish as much justice as the eye does, even though it looks really nice. UL listed for up to 90-minute rated openings, up to 8.0 by 10.0, so it'll handle 90-minute openings up to that size. I don't know that you would actually use a wood door style when it's a 9 or 10-foot door, or even an 8-foot door. You might want a different flush bolt, so you don't have to use a ladder to manipulate the bolt with the flip lever. There's a link below this video to a document called Product Information that will allow you to review the 780F, which is the manual lever extension flush bolt, and the 790F. The 780F is used on steel doors primarily. The 790F is used on wood doors exclusively, I think. I've never seen one on a steel door, although where there's a will, there's a way. I know that you could install it if you wanted to. But a 780 is used on steel doors because the installation procedure, the drilling and mortising for a 780F, a manual extension flush bolt, is far more complicated when you're doing a wood door, and you're doing it after the door has been manufactured. What I mean to say is a 790F, it's simply something that's mortised into the corner of the door. You can access the top of the door with your router. You can access the face of the door, the style of the door with your router as well. With a 780, you can prep the body, which is all of this without this part, but then you have to drill a hole all the way to the top or bottom of the door straight. Okay, so you got to have a long drill bit. You got to have a guide to make sure that drill bit gets down to where it has to go. You have to make sure that you're not dipping into the core or breaching out of the style, because you're probably drilling through materials with different densities. And I've done it both ways. I've destroyed the door, and I've done it hundreds of times. The point being, now jumping in to talk about mortising the material, and it'll probably become somewhat evident why you want to avoid a 780F if you're doing it after you have the wood doors. If the doors are being manufactured and you want to use a lever extension, the factory can prep for those. And in fact, for every one 790F there's probably 1,000 or 100,000 780Fs. Corner style flush bolts, wood doors only. Now, prepping for this, and that's where the piece of paper comes in, the installation instructions that are down below. Very simple and straightforward when it's a wood door. If you spend time with hardware, eventually it all looks like each other. Everything bleeds together and blends together. The interpretation of the template is, in almost all instances, easy, simple, and straightforward, and you'll find that if you study it long enough, if you're new to it, every question that you could ask is answered on the template. Okay? Having a little bit of background in architectural drafting doesn't hurt either, but nonetheless, it's incredibly rare for a template to be incomplete or just outright wrong. Very, very, very rare. And in fact, if I've looked at 1,000 templates, I'd say only one of them obviously had things missing. So it's handy to have the hardware in your hand because you can do a reality check. You can look at the template and say to yourself, oh, that doesn't seem right. Well, you got the hardware and you've got your tape measure. You can just check. Prepping for this, preparations generally come down to two steps: a body prep and a face prep. The body prep in this instance is literally going to be the body of the hardware. It's going to be this far over and this far down. That's the bottom line. Obviously, it can't be so big so as to breach into where the screw holes are, but when you look at the template, that's exactly what you're looking at. I would argue that you could do a little finer job over the machining than what is drawn here, but I don't know that I could argue that it would be preferable to make life more difficult. The bottom line is, let's look at the template. They're calling out the mortise. You've got the height of the body, you've got the depth of the body, and then when you study it long enough, it'll tell you the width as well. This is telling you that you need to do 5 and 13 sixteenths. 5 and 13 sixteenths from the top of the door to the bottom of where the cutout or prep is going to be. It's telling you that you need to do a depth of 1 and 7 sixteenths from the edge of the door, and the other dimension that they're giving you is right there, 1 and a 32nd wide. So you're going to do that prep in the edge of the door, 1 and a 32nd. You're going to go up 5 and 13 sixteenths. You're going to go 1 and 7 sixteenths deep. You're going to do all that with a plunge router is the bottom. Very simple and straightforward. You want to test any of that on your tape measure and your hardware? Go right ahead. 1 and 7 sixteenths. Yeah, that makes sense. That's going to give me a little bit of room. You want to talk about 5 and 13 sixteenths? Yep, that's spot on. That's going to be spot on. Your width, 1 and a 32nd. Well, that faceplate is actually just shy on 1 inch, but it's going to give you that nice hairline detail around the trim. Now, if it was me, you could do a smaller prep than 1 and a 32nd from down here all the way up to here, because this plate is what's causing you to go that wide. You could then have a ledge, so to speak, for the 1/8 of an inch thick plate to rest on if you wanted to. But again, I don't know that I could make an argument that that would be superior. Although, you know, you'd have a shoulder for this plate to rest on. Having said that, you're then going to need to prep for this ear, the mounting tab here. You know you've got 1 and a 32nd. The template is going to give you the rest of the dimension, and it's incredibly smudged here. I have no idea what that means, but looking at the hardware, it's probably 2 and 17/32, but I don't know what it is because it's smudged. Put your tape measure on it. Yep, 1 and 17/32, that's going to be right on. Just heavy on 2.5. Then the other preparation, it's giving you, not directly, but you have to do a little bit of math. You've got 6 and 25/32 overall mortise height. That minus the 5 and 13/32 is going to give you just what you're doing here. 1/8 inch thick, 1 and a 32nd wide. So you'll have those extra preparations. I think some people will prefer to do that by hand at the top of the door. I would only use a router on the face of the door, however. So you really only need to do one setup on the edge of the door. You're going to set up to go 5 and 13 sixteenths, but then you're going to reset your depth because you're going to use a plunge router. You're going to do that in passes. Then you're just going to do 1/8 of an inch down the rest of the way. Corner your square your corners. You're in good shape. You're in real good shape, in fact. Looking at the rest of the template, and this is what's called a dust box, by the way. It's just a piece of galvanized sheet metal that's just meant to go behind the bolt. If it's a particle board door, you're probably not going to have too much of a problem with material creeping out of it. But if it's a mineral core door, you absolutely will have small particulate that will bleed out. You want to put that nice piece of hardware in there to close that off as cleanly as possible. Okay. Looking at the rest of the template, obviously the strike, 2 1/4. And then 15 sixteenths. You'll mortise that into the header. It's probably a 32nd thick. They tell us that it's 5/64. So just heavy on 1/8 of an inch. No, Yeah, just right in that range. Absolutely. Heavy on 1/8 of an inch. That's still not sitting right. 1 divided by 64 times 5. 0.078. So, yeah, I was way off. 0.078. The material's quite thin. Okay, 0.078. Then that wraps up everything here except to tell you that you're going to get 7 screws. You're going to need 2 for the strike. You're going to need 2 for the face of the body. You're going to need 3 up top. Okay, they're all the same screw. They're combination screws, wood and machine thread. That's an 832. You'll find you'll have great success putting them into wood or steel. These flush bolts are available in all of the common finishes, your brasses, your bronze, your chrome. Well, let's just go through it. You're going to be able to do polished brass, satin bronze, oil rub bronze, polished chrome, satin chrome. Those are the finishes that you can get. And I'm partial to DCI, and it's because they have a very high quality fit and finish. I like what their products look like when you take them out of the box, meaning the plating finish, the plating process, the metalworking process of their manufacturing is very mature, I'd say. It's, you know, you get the material in your hand, you say, gosh, it looks like a nice piece of hardware. And I say that every time I see DCI stuff, almost every time. And it really translates. I believe that they're a relatively petite company working in some trim and auxiliary hardware, but a lot of electrified hardware as well. They have a unique line of exit devices called Panex. So if you know the name DCI, it might be for those exit devices. But rely on them for prompt, reliable, predictable shipping lead times, excellent customer service, and at least as good technical support, and the ability to ship stuff out from stock pretty quick. They've got a minimum order, as practically everyone does and everyone should. So if it's a small item, there might be some delay of us to bring it in on a stock order. But I can tell you, if there is, the material's always well worth the wait. Any questions on the DCI number 790F manual flush bolt for a wood door in a satin chrome finish, or any other DCI product, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.